I'm KC. Good morning. How you doing?
What's going on, guys? What's going on?
I mean, there seems to be a lot going on. I mean, first of all, the big trade, even before the Zach trade, that one was an absolute stunner. Did it catch you as unaware as it caught the rest of the NBA?
Oh yeah, I mean the way everyone's describing it is it's one of those rare moments where you kind of are always going to say you remember where you were when it crossed your screen, right? It's just the only thing I can equate it to in recent memory is and it's not an apples to apples comparison because he was a free agent, was when Kevin Durant left OKC for Golden State, and not so much that he left OKC, but just that he picked the Warriors. I mean that was another holy cow moment. I was talking with players in the pregame locker room last night. I mean, they were openly, everyone was just in shock about it. And Lonzo and I were talking about how very little shocks us in the NBA. You think you've seen everything, but that shocked everybody. And obviously a trade for all time that will be talked about for all time.
And then a day later, I don't think there was the shock value, but certainly maybe a level of surprise that finally the Bulls did declare what direction they're headed. They did pick a lane, KC. We've been talking about it for a very long time. They decided to trade Zach LaVine to the Kings. They get their pick back. There's no protection on it. It's free and clear. Now they have to roll the dice, and they hope and luck are their plans. What was your interpretation of the Zach trade and what they got in return?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone who's been around the team has been preparing people for the fact that the return is going to be not probably of equal value, but it's going to be a declaration of what you said, picking a direction. I mean, they kind of started to move towards trying to compete move away from trying to compete with the DeMar DeRozan and Alex Caruso trades, but they were still kind of in the middle because obviously you've got 4 All-Star appearances between Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic still on the court, and both of them having a very strong season. So this is a declaration that they're all in, and I'm told that they're trying not to be done. I mean, obviously, there's no guarantee they're going to get anything else done between now and Thursday, but they're trying. So they are all in, and as you said, they're going to keep they have control of their future in terms of their draft picks, and they're starting to get a few assets. I mean, they've got to get more, and they've got to draft right. That's going to put a premium on drafting right, but it's going to be, rebuilds are not fun. I've covered a couple of them, and this one will be probably pretty bumpy and painful, but you've seen some growth from guys like, Modest Buzelis and others, and Patrick Williams has played better since he moved to the bench. So we'll see where this goes, but buckle up. It's going to be a bumpy ride at times.
Mm-hmm. I don't know how you would grade the trade, but it feels like the Spurs won it, and it feels like Sacramento, it will be interesting to see the reunion of DeMar DeRozan and Zach. And with the Bulls, it just feels like they have declared a lane. And I don't know if that gets a good grade or not.
Yeah, I've actually never been big into immediate grades or grades of trades. I think these things take time to play out. What I always look at trades at is like, can you see the logic from each team's perspective? And in this one, I think you can from all three. Whereas in contrast to that, like the Dallas Lakers one, I don't really see the logic from the Dallas standpoint. I just don't. It's Zach, you're not going to get equal value back for Zach LaVine. I always said, and I've been very clear throughout that I personally think I would not have traded Zach LaVine. He's going to be 30 in March. He's still athletic for another 5-6 years. Develop your young players more, draft better, and build around Zach LaVine. I mean, I'm in the minority there, but I've made my feelings known on that all along. I think basically what you're doing is trying to get a player who's going to be as good as Zach LaVine. He was an elite offensive player here, but the fact that they have declared a direction and own the control of their future is a positive sign. And like I said, now you put a premium on drafting. They've got to draft right, and you've seen some growth from their first round pick of late in Modest, and you need to keep doing that hit after hit in the draft moving forward.
Well, Casey, we're in the minority together because I believe, as you do, and I think that Zach LaVine's one of the more unappreciated players in Chicago over the last decade. But moving forward, now that we look at this future that the Bulls have is kind of uncertain. How would you assess what this does to the job security of AK and maybe even Billy Donovan, who wanted no part of a rebuild in Oklahoma City, and now he's in the midst of one in Chicago? So regardless of what the media thinks of this deal, what does ownership think of this deal and what it does to the job security of both those guys?
Well, I mean, obviously ownership has to sign off on the deal, and, they do have more financial flexibility now, and like I said, they control their draft assets now, and those are things that historically ownership has valued and favored. So I'm sure ownership is, I haven't talked to ownership, but my sense is it would be that they're pleased with this move. And also just because, I've maintained all along, I've reported this, I've said this, like ownership was always like, you guys have the freedom to do what you want to do, but just get out of the middle. And obviously they had a long run where they were trying to compete, and they only got one playoff series and 2 play-in appearances out of it. But they were still in the middle this season. They're not going to be in the middle anymore. And so in that sense, my educated guess would be that ownership is strongly in favor of this deal because they are going to bottom out here. And they're going to have high draft picks, likely for the next 1 to 2 seasons, and or draft assets to make more moves to maybe get you out of the rebuild faster. So, and have financial savings in the meantime. So my sense is ownership would be very pleased with this deal. And then the ripple effect of that would be that, management has picked a lane, and that's what ownership wanted. So my sense is that management would be fine. As far as Billy Donovan, that's a question that all of us are going to be asking him the next time we have access because, he has downplayed that I didn't want to be part of a rebuild logic before. I mean, that was kind of like, he never said that. I was kind of like inferred or assumed from the departure in OKC. There's some behind-the-scenes stuff there that I don't know fully the details of that led to that, mostly amicable exit. So, Billy's done a good job this season managing, to me, the young players, and he's going to have that on his plate moving forward. But, yes, that's a question I'll certainly and we all will certainly be asking Billy Donovan in the coming days.
You mentioned the Mavericks trading Luka. He's 25 years old, and he's kind of entering. You would. The guy went to the finals, and he's kind of now entering what will be the best part of his career. I get it. He's kind of semi-svelte. Maybe he doesn't take things that seriously. The money's going to go up significantly with a Supermax deal a year from now. But what information don't we know that really has steered this ship? I can't understand why they have traded the guy at his age and that point in his career. I just find it really difficult to figure out unless there's information there that we haven't been told. It's just weird that it's been so secretive that they did this thing. And by the way, no way LeBron knew. How could he possibly have known? Help.
Yeah, well, let's tackle that from few different ways. So first of all, the secretive nature to it, it's easy to deduce what happened there. I mean, Nico Harrison, longtime Nike shoe rep for Kobe, many people with the Lakers. Rob Pelinka used to be Kobe's agent. So Nico and Rob Pelinka have been really tight for like a long time. So my sense is that they were negotiating quietly, just given the strength of their relationship for weeks, So that's the first aspect. The other thing I would say is I don't like speculating on stuff I don't report out myself. So I'll just say the only thing I've heard that I reported myself is, well, it's not even a report, but just one thing that someone told me directly that has knowledge of the situation that adds some context to it is the person told me, like, no way this would have happened if Mark Cuban was still majority owner. Because, that was interesting to me because, Mark Cuban loved loyalty, loved faces of franchise. And then you move from the 21-year run of Dirk Nowitzki to lucking into Luka Dončić in the draft and the draft day trade. And, Cuban loves that kind of stuff. So, like, my sense is that if Cuban was still a majority owner, you'd have a statue of Luka Dončić outside the Mavericks arena in 15, 16 years. So that's the only thing I would say directly. And then lastly, the only thing I would infer, this is me talking to some people just loosely associated with it, but not even reporting it, but just kind of what I'm reading and deducing. If you infer some of the things that Nico Harrison is saying, it certainly sounds like they had strong inklings that Luka was not even sure he would re-sign there or would sign the Supermax and then ask out. And if you're committing that much money to somebody and he's not all fully in, you got to get out in front of that. So in that regard, I guess it makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, I mean, I'm like everybody else. The dude went to the finals last year and, led the NBA in scoring. So it's just wild.
That's really getting out in front of it. And that's really taking some things on assuming a lot based on Luka's response and the farewell. It does sound like he wanted to spend his entire career in Dallas, but that's another story for another day. Casey, curious, the rest of this week until Thursday's deadline, how much more tradable does Vooch become? Or how much more necessary does it become to deal him now that Zach is gone? And what do you think the market will be, will intensify for either Io or Kobe White?
I mean, I've been saying all along, everybody's available. And I mean, there are certain people that they prefer not to trade, Modest being probably top of that list, but everybody is available. I have not heard much chatter on Kobe and Io. But I've certainly heard a lot of chatter on Nikola Vucevic, and I can tell you that he is, fully prepared to be dealt if that is the case. Lonzo, I know they're making calls on him. I mean, he is showing that he's healthy, and obviously his minutes limit going up to 28 helps, but I'm not sure how much you're going to get back for a guy who's going to be available this summer as an unrestricted free agent and has the injury history he does, but they're trying. And also, I mean, the other thing about Lonzo to remember that makes it a little bit more difficult for him to trade is he's at a decent number. I mean, he's at $21 million. So they are trying to do more changes. And, Arturas told us that. It was one of his first comments at Media Day. We are not done making changes. And you've made one significant one with the Zach trade, and they're trying to do more. And we'll see where it plays out.
Just reading reports about Vooch, there's been talk that he's holding out for a first-round draft pick and that different teams are not coughing. Is he waiting for the last minute when things get very pressurized to either think they're going to go up or he's going to go down?
Or teams that have different targets don't get it done and moved as Vooch. I've always said the thing about Vooch that's a little bit difficult is there are a lot of centers that, seemingly are on the market. I mean, Valanciunas in Washington. You hear different things on Robert Williams III in Portland being available. Same with Walker Kessler in Utah. Who am I missing? Jakob Poeltl might be available for the right price. So, I mean, there's a long line of centers that may or may not be in play, and Vooch is one of those people. And then you also hear different things on the Warriors. Like, are they going to keep their powder dry for something this summer? Or are they going to make a move out of desperation now? To try to improve their team. It doesn't sound like they're in the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes. That's another domino that may or may not fall. So this is why the trade deadline is so crazy. All these teams have like 6 different balls in the air, 6 different scenarios in the air, and it takes 2, sometimes 3 teams to line everything up. And we've been reporting that I've been reporting, and others have been reporting that the Zach deal was unlikely because of his number, and it probably have to get involved in the Jimmy Butler sweepstakes, but the De'Aaron Fox situation presented a new opportunity, and you got to credit the Bulls for acting on that and getting in on that. Because with this new CBA, Zach's number is a hard number to move, and they were able to do it. And like I said, they are trying to do more, and we'll see how it plays out between now and Thursday.
Casey, does the recent mini surge by Patrick Williams coming off the bench, being benched and then having played better since he has that happened, have any effect on his trade value? The teams maybe being interested because that's such a big contract to move. You said everybody is in play. Would he be in play?
Everybody's in play. Everybody's in play, including Modest. I mean, again, there's certain guys they don't want to trade, but if the right trade presents itself and one guy is the casualty of that, so be it. I personally don't think Modest will be moved, and I'd be really surprised if Patrick was moved just because of the length of his deal. So, I mean, you're talking about a guy that's coming off the bench now that's got 4 years left after this one, and it's clearly showing that he may be better coming off the bench. So, right now the Bulls have made one significant move. They're trying to make more significant moves with bigger numbers in Vooch and Lonzo. I would think that, as far as the young players, they just kind of want to let the dust settle and start working to develop them. And I mean, look, there's going to be a lot of opportunity moving forward because this is going to be a very different looking roster the rest of this season and certainly at the start of next season. So I expect Patrick Williams to be here past Thursday, but I also expected Zach LaVine to be here past Thursday, and that didn't happen. So that's why this stuff is fluid, and I'm not a general manager.
Everyone loves LeBron. Everyone loves the Lakers. Do they need a rim protector? Do you think that they'll make another move here?
That's why I think Vooch to the Lakers, while I was told it was dead last week, but now obviously with this trade, they need a center. I've been told that it's somewhat back in play now, but like that's exactly why I think Vooch to the Lakers is less likely, because I think they need a rim protector,
Right.
and Vooch is just not that. Now look, I've heard Clint Capella has been available. So can the Bulls get on a 3-team trade with Capella going to the Lakers and Vooch going to the Hawks? I mean, I'm just speculating. I'm not reporting that. So don't aggregate that, people. That's my own speculation. But what I will say is, this is a crazy time of year, and the Luka trade just reminded everybody how crazy the NBA trade deadline week can be. That's going to be an all-timer for sure.
KC Johnson says that. So again, how does Rudy Gobert, when he gets traded, get 4 first-round picks and a player and all the draft capital, and then Luka gets a 32-year-old big man with his best days behind him and some other stuff, but that's not going to age. That's never going to age well, is it?
Donovan Mitchell too. I mean, I will say it's a different collective bargaining agreement, so that's you got to first realize you're comparing apples to oranges there. But yeah, the days of the 4 first-round picks, 5 first-round picks of the Gobert Mitchell trades are gone under this new collective bargaining agreement. So, it's. And that's another thing about the Bulls. You gotta with the Zach return, you got to look at it like that. I mean, like they not only control. I mean, I've heard people say like, oh, they could have controlled their first round pick this year just by being bad the rest of the year. Okay, well then the protections just shifted to 2026, and so you lose your 2026 pick, which is also considered a strong draft. This way, they've got all their first round picks, so you could say you could make a small argument that they've kind of required 2 first-round picks in this trade, technically. But I don't know, man. I'm tired, and we talked a lot about trades.
Yeah.
Good stuff, though, Casey.
Great job, Casey, as always. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it, man. Talk to you guys later. See ya.